So we had that gospel a couple weeks ago on Sunday, and I spoke about it at some length. And a reminder that Jesus explains that sowing of the seed later in the gospel. And he explained it, remember, not to the whole crowd, but to the disciples. And I highlight the idea that we hear these words, and then we need to spend some time with Jesus, listening to him privately as he speaks to us about the nature of the seed and the nature of our soul, and how we personally, individually, in our very unique circumstances, can pull the weeds and till the soil of our own soul, that it would be fruitful, that we would hear. I mean, it's all, when I'm proclaiming the gospel, and it's the same gospel as the other day, but are we the same? See, we should be in the process of maturing and growing and understanding better the necessity of pulling the weeds and moving the rocks and examining our lives for fruitfulness. Now, this event in the Old Testament reading today, a long reading, Moses is leading the Israelites out, and they're in the desert and they're hungry, and you heard the story. So he provides manna, bread from heaven, and quail. So it was two miracles. It was a miracle of flesh and a miracle of bread. Now we have to understand that all this is just setting us up for the Eucharist. All of this is, I'm here to tell you, all those things in the Old Testament, they were important, but it is in anticipation of something that is coming. The bread of angels. It was not Moses who gave you the manna. It was my Father who gave you the manna, and I'm going to give you the true bread from heaven. Who said that? And so here we are. As I have said 100 times, and I will continue to say, here we are in the desert being fed by our daily bread, the manna from heaven, which is Jesus himself. Now, this is an important story. This is a beautiful story. This is a rich and complex story. And we can learn everything about this story. But if we don't know about the Holy Eucharist, we've missed the point of the story. And so here we are now. And we know this. And we ourselves are in our desert, and we're on our way to the promised land. And, not to mix the metaphors too much and not to hopefully do violence to the biblical stories, but how is it that we fertilize the soil of our soul for fruitfulness? It's grace. And what do we receive from the sacraments? Grace. Now, you can pour all the grace you want on rocks, and you're not going to get a lot of fruit. But we want to have tilled and pulled the weeds, and we come in here today to humbly continue our journey, striving for fruitfulness, receiving the bread from heaven, completely unworthy of it in ourselves, but made worthy by the love of God. And so, Lord, till, fertilize, make fruitful the soil of my soul with the true bread from heaven.